What it is just your standard whiteboard that you have in every conference room. What we've done is this now links to your computer with a USB driver, allowing you to control your computer on this board and project it. We're going to use this for presenting electronic documentation in the courtrooms. So here we go. As you can see, it's a standard whiteboard, so you can turn off the interactivity to this board and use just your regular dry erase markers to write on this board. They will erase just like normal. So feel free that if you wanted to use this as a whiteboard just to present data or to talk amongst yourselves before trial starts, it certainly can be used by simply taking the Cat5 cable and plugging it into your laptop. The board becomes interactive, allowing you to control your computer. This presentation is currently running in PowerPoint on my laptop, and we are using finger touch technology to advance the slides. So just think of your finger as your mouse to extend your PC at this point in time. The basics to the TeamBoard are the data projector, the board, and your laptop or PC that you bring yourself. The computer connects via Cat5 cable and USB dongle to the board. The board gets its picture from the projector, which also connects to your laptop with your video output or your Apple adapter. The software suite is free. We will make that available to you either via FTP or in court. When you have some time, you can come and actually download it on your PC yourself with a CD. Egan has been around since the early 60s. So their products you're probably very familiar for, and you've seen them in multiple conference rooms and boardrooms around the world. So we're going to briefly go through this of how to use this. So you do not have to have a pen to use this. As you can see, I'm using my finger. This is not like the other competitors' boards where you have the pencil tray that you have to pick up a color to write in it. You're going to choose all of that from the front and simply use your finger or another touch device or even a pen. As long as you're not using scissors or a knife, you'll be fine. It's easy to maintain. There is no pencil tray, as I said. The markers do not have to sit here. You do not have to use a marker at all if you don't have one. We have 4 different modes on here that we can use. We have interactive mode, which we're currently using now. We have projection mode, which would just use just the projector and the board if you wanted to show film or documentation. We have whiteboard mode, where we turn all of this off and we simply just use it as an easel. And then we have electronic whiteboard mode, where we can actually capture certain things such as depositions or other things like that. The surface is your standard surface with the reflectiveness for the projector. It's also very easy to clean. So if something gets on here, if you use the wrong pen or something, don't worry about it. We can simply clean that off. No problem at all, whether it's a vis-a-vis or a permanent marker. But let's try to use the dry erase markers that are provided. We'll come out of this now. Go back to the software. Edit this. So after you arrive in the courtroom and you have either installed this CD package here onto your computer or you have loaded it previous, what you will get is an icon in your system tray down here. That icon is your route to get into the software to utilize this board. We have a couple features on here. We have a dashboard. We have a way to enable what type of device you're using. We have a calibration setting that draws the actual program itself. We have annotation, and we have virtual keyboard that we can pull up. From the dashboard here, we can launch all of those things that we just talked about and also select if this board is going to be just a whiteboard today or if we're going to use it to control our PC as an interactive whiteboard. First things we need to talk about is calibration. We really shouldn't have to do this a whole lot, and we'll probably take care of most of doing this for you. But should you go to use this board and your pointer is not pointing where you're touching on the screen, we'll need to go to calibrate and calibrate the board. And there's 3 simple steps. We start with whiteboard, where it's going to ask us to touch the corner of the screens. We're defining the space of the board with this calibration. We're going to go back to the calibration again. The next one would be the interactive connectivity. When you get that, you're going to see a little small thing that says make sure that your projector is keystone. You're going to go hit OK on that. You're going to get a grid. If you do not see the 3 bars of the grid that just disappeared, then your resolution is wrong and you need to change it on your PC. So on the calibration, we're simply going to touch the crosshairs. Anywhere that there's intersecting lines, it does not matter what order you go in. We're creating a grid to tell it where your finger is going to be on the board. At this point in time, you should see my cursor wherever I touch. It should be calibrated now. The last one we're going to do, we're actually going to calibrate this action bar at the bottom. This piece of tape that's taped on here. If you're familiar with other products, there's usually a pencil tray. We have a sticker instead. So now that we've had everything calibrated and we've tested it, we can go ahead and we can open the actual draw software, which is this nice little whiteboard. Alright, so now from the dashboard, after we've done the calibration, we're just going to launch the program, and from that dashboard it's the little draw. When it comes up, you're going to get a nice pretty white screen like this. If you'll notice, this screen resembles a lot of your Microsoft products that you're already using. So it's a combination of Microsoft Paint, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, and Word. There's a couple things up here that we need to talk about, and basically what we're talking about here is anything from this arrow to the left. These are our basic tool functions of this board. So we have a pencil tray, which when we click on that, we get all the different types of pencils and arrows that we can choose from. We can change our font size. We can change our font color. If we don't like any of these colors, we can actually create a custom color from the palette. If you wanted to do so, you can mix and blend. We can also create a shade. If we were showing something that maybe the jury doesn't need to see the whole thing, we can mask the screen and slightly just kind of draw it down, because we all know that if you throw something up there, people like to read ahead of you. So this is a good way for you to mask that on either side of the screen, all 4 sides. We also have a spotlight tool, which will allow you to blacken the entire screen and spotlight one area and move it around. A double click will take you out of that. The next item we have is the eraser. We have a couple different eraser types. We can do a spot erase, which does a large spot. We could do the object, or we could do the select, where we draw a box around the object to delete it. The next one we have here are shapes. If you need to draw any type of anamorphic or symmetric shapes, they are here for you instead of you actually having to do them yourself. The next one we have are different color swiggles and swirls. If you are making a point or a case and you need to do anything in color or anything to outline something. The next feature is the text feature. Simply draw a text box and then you will be able to write your text in there. It does have an on-screen keyboard if you want to use that. You just click the keyboard and here you have a full-size keyboard to use at your discretion. Move it around wherever it's comfortable for you. You can type on there. We have the pointer tools where we can select actual objects here. This will allow us to do multiple functions on that object itself, such as bring it to front and back. We can create a hyperlink to it, delete it, cut it, copy it, clone it, lock it. We can actually rotate it if you want through here as well. And you can also change the transparency of it. These will be things that you'll just need to play with that you probably don't want to do on the fly during court. Your last function there are your clip, copy, cut, paste functions, pretty standard. Across the top here we have a new workbook where here it will ask you if you're going to save your current file. It will always ask you so you don't lose your work, so we'll just say yes. It'll allow you to come in here and select it wherever you want and save it. We also have an open, so if you had a previous file, you could open another one and display it if you've already created this before you come in. So again, the software, we have it available for you. It is free, so you can load this at your office. You do not need the board. You can feel free to play with it there and create your presentations before you come in, much like you would do in PowerPoint. The disk is what you think it is. It is a save tool. This will allow you to save this file anywhere you want. We have a direct print, which we do not have a printer in the courtrooms currently, but if we did, you would be able to print to that. Undo, redo are your simple arrows. This arrow key would be full screen, so if you wanted to use this board full screen, this toolbar can come down to your level, so that's perfectly fine. To go back out of full screen, we simply just hit the draw symbol again. We have clip art, so you can use the preloaded clip art that will be installed when you load the software, and or you could use any other clip art that you wanted to import yourself. These last two here, or the last three, are a record function. So if you get in and you want to practice with this, you can certainly go ahead and record your presentation the day before a trial. And instead of presenting or doing anything live, you could simply load that file and play it back. And all you would do is speak, and it would show all the movements or anything you did with highlighting of any of the documents you're showing. Whenever you need help, you don't know what you're doing, you just need some reference for how do I do something, you have two options. The first option is the question mark, which will launch the user guide, which also gets installed when you download the software. And the second one is a video tutorial. So that is also downloaded. So if you wanted to come in here and play with this, or you're playing with this at your desk at the office, feel free to hit that. There are tutorial videos on how to do certain things. So if we wanted to know how to use the erase tool, we can simply watch the video and follow along with what it's doing. It will show you exactly where to go, what to do, and how to do it, and you can simply mimic it. So it's a great tool to know and to use. So we'll show you some basic functions and how quickly you could use this or what you could use this for. And then you can come in and you can direct any questions. We'll put a link on there if you guys have further questions, and we can review some of that. So let's see. Anytime that this software is minimized, you will get a small dashboard which you can move around your screen. You can tile it wherever you would like. It just kind of lives wherever is comfortable for you. We have a couple functions on here. We have a camera, and we have a camera with a plus on it. These two are direct capture tools. So if we selected the camera, what we are doing is we have now taken a screenshot of our exact screen. So I have captured my desktop that you saw that we have been playing with, and I can now choose a color that I want, and I could go in here and I could write you a note or whatever you needed to that we could talk about. All of this is captured in the software. So once you're done with whatever screen you have captured or photo that you have captured and you have annotated on, by simply clicking the draw software again, it takes us back to our current presentation that's open. You see this is where we started, and the second file is that capture of my desktop. When I minimize this again, my desktop is clean. So this works for any type of document you may have. If you had photos that you needed to annotate on to make a point to the jury, you can do that. If you simply have a PowerPoint presentation and maybe you wanted to not actually edit this during court, you could simply go on and make a couple points on this by just capturing the image on the screen and then maybe choosing a highlighter and highlighting certain things that are of importance to the case that's going on. So we have ways of doing that. After that's done, we simply come right back out. We're back into the project that we had opened, and we have not done anything to this PowerPoint presentation. We have preserved it. So this is a great way for you to do a quick snapshot annotation to drive a point and go on with it. Later on, those files that you have created here with the desktop snapshots, they can be exported if you need to submit them for evidence or anything else. A single page such as this can be exported by going to File, Export. You can select the page or the workbook. In this case, we'll just do the page. And now we can save that file wherever we would like to save it in any of these formats that we like. JPEG, bitmap, PNG, HTML, PDF. So these will all be interchangeable, so you don't have to worry about does somebody have this software to view it. We can save these files in any type of order that you would like to save them, to send them to anybody else or to submit them. Going back here, looking at this, again we had the camera with the plus on it. That is the same thing as the screen capture, except now we get to draw the section of the screen we want, freehand or rectangle. We'll choose freehand here, and we'll just choose kind of an odd shape. It's going to ask us if we want to add that to the current page or to a new page in our workbook. We'll just say new page. And we have now captured that crude image that I drew on my desktop. You could also use the rectangle if you were just looking to capture maybe just this complete object here. So there we go. So there's our screen capture. I have been using this entire time all of the functions here from the toolbar. We also have the toolbar here that we calibrated, which you can also use those. You will notice that when we use these, the objects up top will change. So if we go and we add a new page here. All right, so as you noticed before, I've been using this toolbar up top to do most of the stuff. We also have this toolbar that's down here that I've talked about briefly when we calibrated. So either one's appropriate, whichever's best for you. If you are in the full screen mode, then of course you're going to have this extension of the toolbar that you can move around too, which looks like inside the program. So you also have this. So if we look here, there are different ways we can change the color here, like I have been doing, or we can simply select the color here on the toolbar. So if we wanted red, we go ahead and we select the red, and we've got the red there. If we wanted green, this is now changed to green, purple, blue, back to black. So these are appropriate here anytime you want to grab one if you don't want to go to the bar. We have the same thing here, which is a screenshot here, which is a really quick screenshot. We do have the erasers here, so that's the large erase and the fine erase. We have the printer, which we don't need to worry about. We also have the copy button here. So These are items that you can use on this smaller toolbar now that we've broken it out full screen. We also have another function that we haven't seen yet, which is the grid, where we can actually create a grid on the screen if you need it for writing or drawing or anything of such like that. So feel free at any time to use these down here or use this up here. It is completely your choice. We also have the fact that we can take at any given point in time, if the program is minimized, we can hit any of these colors right here, which will do a direct screen capture of whatever screen we're on, and we can immediately start writing. So if you want to see that again, all we're doing, we're inside of any type of document that we may want. We'll take an Excel workbook, for example. This board will do anything that your computer can run, so just keep that in mind. We're not subjected to, we can only do X, Y, Z. Any program that currently runs on your computer, this will annotate with. So we're in an Excel workbook here. Now that this is on the screen, we have full capability of editing these cells, just like you would normally. Just note that your laptop's over there, so you don't have a keyboard, so you will have to use the on-screen keyboard. If we just needed to simply make notes on this Excel spreadsheet that we have, that's when we're just going to select any type of color that we want. We'll choose red. Once we choose red, this bar pops up, letting us know we have red. We're in a 10-point font. We are now annotating once we see this. We are writing on this, not editing the Excel sheet. We have just captured it. So we are now going to redline whatever we need to redline and change the cost or whatever we need to do. So that's a good way to preserve your work, not do edit, and now you have a copy of that back in your workbook here. And you'll see that when we minimize this, our Excel work page is preserved with nothing on it. Okay, let's talk about maybe videos, bringing videos in. So you've seen that this board can annotate on different types of media or different programs that you may have on your laptop currently. The one thing that we're not going to annotate on is video. So we cannot play ESPN here. However, you will be able to use videos if that's something that you need in your presentation. So feel free. We'll navigate to my folder here. We'll just select videos. We'll play a video I have here. You hear the audio? There is currently audio attached to this board. You can turn that up and down and mute that if you want to with the interactivity. You see here that my video is running. It's full screen. The jury and everybody else can see this very well instead of on your laptop. If we needed to edit this or annotate on this, then what we would do is we would need to pause this. We cannot do anything on live video. But if we pause this, this is now just a window that's tiled on our screen. So we could come in here and take a screen capture of that video that I have paused, and we could annotate on it. Now we are not going to be able to select a person and follow them through the video and continuously annotate on that, but we can make screen captures. If that is something that you need to do, you can see that it's in there. We can go right back into it and resume playing our video. So this is something that you can use to freeze frame and snapshot and annotate on. However, we cannot do it on the live video. If you'll notice, when I hit this button and we're playing the video, it stops it in the immediate place that it is, and that's when we annotate. The video is still playing in the background, so once I exit this, we're still playing. Just keep that in mind. Now the last thing I want to show you is how quickly you could use this software for integration with PowerPoint, PDFs, pictures, any type of documentation you already have. Everybody's very familiar with PowerPoint, and what I tell people is keep using that technology that you're comfortable with. So if you're really good at PowerPoint, continue to use PowerPoint. And then what we can do is we can bring that presentation very quickly, very easily into this TeamBoard software, where then you can do your annotations, your editing, everything like that. So we're simply just going to select the PowerPoint presentation that I have. Once that pulls up, this is the one that we originally started with. We have multiple slides on here. What we'll do is we'll just go back to the beginning of this, and we will go full screen. So now we have our presentation. You can see that I still have my dashboard open. That's this right here. This is my TeamBoard software. I can put that wherever I want. Currently, right now, I am advancing my PowerPoint presentation. So like I'm saying, if you are very good at PowerPoint, keep using that. You can use this board to just scroll right through during sessions to present. And if we want to bring this in, I can simply real quickly just bring this in by just hitting any one of these tools on the bottom. I have captured that screen. There it is. It is now in my workbook here. I'm just going to minimize that again, go to the next slide. We can capture that slide too just by simply pressing a pen. Whether or not we annotate on it or not, that slide has been entered into our workbook. So we're simply just rolling through this very quickly, capturing all of these slides to bring them in to the TeamBoard presentation. Again, we're capturing it. That's what it is. Not a problem. We're going right back into it. So here's the software slide. We want to capture that, bring that in. I'm going to hit any color pen, whether I annotate on it or not. It has brought it into the software. If I don't want to check that to see, I can simply hit our return button here, which is the copy-paste button. It allows you to return back to what you were previously doing. And here we are right back in our presentation. Again, we're capturing, and we're just slowly moving through this to bring this in. And as you can see, I will now go back, and we have brought in a matter of 2 minutes or so, almost this full presentation here, out of PowerPoint into TeamBoard. Like I told you before, this is very similar to PowerPoint and everything that you already have. So when we see this dashboard here, we can realign these slides in any order we want. If we wanted this, this software slide, you know, maybe to come down here, we simply just select it and drag it, and we have just reordered our slides. If you want to delete a slide, you can do so right here. It will always ask you if you are sure you want to do it. You know, you can move up and down the hierarchy of the slides there. And if you are left-handed instead of right-handed, like myself, there's a green arrow here that you can use to flip this if you wanted to present from the other side. So maybe you're not comfortable on the side I was on. Now I've simply just thrown everything on this side, and I can walk over here and present from it. So that is a function for you. So use this if you're comfortable with it. Use this to annotate on your current projects. Don't feel that you need to create everything on this in the software. As you've seen, we can go ahead and just use PowerPoint like we've had it in the past, which everybody's familiar with. So, and you can see down here the tools that you normally have in PowerPoint. They are here. The board knows the difference between a hyperlink and advancing to the next slide. So for instance, if we went back to one of my other slides that has a hyperlink in it, you can create all of that normally. If I touch the screen, it knows to advance to the next slide. Okay, so we do know the difference between the hyperlink and advancing the slide. So if you see with the finger touch, we're advancing the slides. Our next slide just will gray all of this out and talk about the introduction. If we hyperlink to a slide internal. This is an internal hyperlink instead of to the internet. This could be an internet if you wanted to, but when we touch that one, it's simply going to take me to my software slide, which you can see the software slide was 5 or 6 up from this agenda here. So we do know the difference between an advancement and a hyperlink advancement. So feel free, keep using your PowerPoint. That's what you're comfortable with. That's what you're familiar with. Everything can be converted over and saved in this. You can bring it over here, and then later on, if you want to take, you can export this entire workbook or just this page in any order you want, and you can save them however you'd like. JPEGs, bitmaps, PNGs, PDFs, or PowerPoint formats. All right, so the last part of this is what else is included in this when you come into the room yourself. So we have the board and the projector here. The other section of this, so the other section here is a mobile cart. What this is for was, this was for the secondary viewing, so we would use this for either defense or prosecution, as we want to keep the board trying for the jurors so they can see over people's heads. This was meant, this cart here, for defense or prosecution, whoever's not presenting at the time. We have a small movable monitor here, which you can use to tilt to whoever you would like to tilt to. On this side of the cart, I simply have my computer set up. This is what we have been using on that board to interact with. There are two USBs that I have plugged in. One of them goes to the board for the interactivity that we have been using. The other one goes to this small monitor here on this side of the cart. There's a small 19-inch monitor here. This monitor could be used locally at this cart if you didn't feel that you wanted to go to the board for the jurors or for anybody else to block their view. Anything you did from this cart will display on this screen here. As you can see, it's full functionality just like the board. So everything we did on the board, you can do on this small monitor here. We can bring back up all of our software and everything else from this cart. So when you go to shut everything down, you can use this cart in conjunction with this board or each one separately. And shutting down everything is simply shutting your computer down. So however you normally go and close your computer, we're simply just going to minimize everything and then go to shut down and power off. Make sure you've saved all your data. The only connections that you'll need to disconnect, of course, are the one or two USBs, depending on if you're using the cart and the board or just the board, as well as the VGA that you have going to the projector and the monitor, and the audio cable if you've been using that. Those will all stay on this cart here and be available for you as you come in and out of the courtroom.